She's out, vanished. No warning, no dramatic farewell speech at The View's iconic table. Just gone.
I just leave. I go home. I go home to my life, and I take care of my cat and do all the stuff I'm supposed to do.
Whoopi Goldberg has reportedly fled the United States, leaving behind chaos, whispers, and a lawsuit so huge it shook the entertainment world to its core. This isn't just a scandal, it's an all-out media earthquake. Behind those glossy doors at ABC, there's full-blown panic. Producers are deleting emails faster than they can blink. Advertisers are slamming the brakes on their deals, and PR teams are practically throwing themselves at walls trying to figure out how to spin this disaster. And Whoopi, she didn't just take a break. Sources say she slipped onto a flight out of the country mere days after the court fast-tracked the discovery process in Karoline Leavitt's $800 million lawsuit. Some insiders call it time off, but others are whispering a different word: escape. So why did Whoopi disappear? How did this lawsuit, once dismissed with eye rolls and laughter, explode into a historic media implosion? Let's peel back the layers of this meltdown, moment by outrageous moment.
Well, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
It all started with what was supposed to be a routine guest spot, just another political figure walking into the lion's den of The View. But Karoline Leavitt wasn't just any guest. She came prepared, young, sharp as a knife, and unshakably conservative in a room that practically sharpened its claws the minute she walked in. Karoline sat down, every hair in place, posture perfect, eyes sharp as glass. She smiled politely, but anyone paying attention could feel it. This wasn't a meeting of minds. It was a setup. Joy Behar was the first to pounce with a chuckle so fake you could hear the rehearsals behind it. She mocked Karoline's accomplishments as cute, implying that a woman barely old enough to rent a car had no business discussing national policy. Then came Sunny Hostin, arms crossed, voice dripping with judgment. She dropped the phrase white privilege into the conversation like a grenade, suggesting that Karoline hadn't earned her place, but had simply inherited it. And finally, Whoopi Goldberg leaned in, armed with that infamous smirk and a rehearsed flick of the eyes. "You're not here because you earned it," she sneered. "You're a product of right-wing pity politics." The audience erupted with cruel laughter. The co-hosts looked triumphant. The cameras zoomed in for the kill shot. But Karoline? She didn't crumble. No meltdown, no snappy comeback, no tears. Just a calm nod, a smile. The kind of composed defiance that shakes your enemies more than any tantrum ever could. What the host didn't realize was that Karoline wasn't walking away defeated. She was walking away armed. Armed with legal firepower so devastating that it would leave their entire empire shaking at the foundation. Backstage, she didn't waste a second posting about it or raging online. No, she picked up her phone and called her lawyers. And The View? They had no idea what was about to hit them. Within days, headlines exploded across every screen. Karoline Leavitt sues The View for $800 million in landmark defamation case. The internet lost its mind. TikTok creators analyzed every second of that explosive segment. Legal experts declared it a declaration of war against media bullies.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on look?
This wasn't just another lawsuit. It was a 100-page legal wrecking ball. Karoline's team accused Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and ABC itself of calculated, deliberate, on-air character assassination. And the evidence? Oh, it wasn't just the on-air jabs and sneers. Karoline's lawyers had gone deep, dissecting every millisecond of the broadcast, highlighting eye rolls, timing audience laughter, and even pulling data from the teleprompters. But the real nuclear bomb landed when backstage documents surfaced. Internal memos, Slack chats, off-camera recordings, all showing that what aired that day wasn't random. It was a pre-planned media takedown. One email from a producer was especially damning. Open soft with Joy's joke about youth. Let Sunny pivot to race. Whoopi delivers ideological kill shot. Another Slack message was even worse. Karoline is trending. Go hard. This is our moment. Every cynical move, every cruel laugh, every trap set. It was all on paper. And now it was all in court. Karoline's lawyers went live on national television, their statement thundering across every outlet. This isn't about silencing opinions. It's about protecting dignity. No guest should be ambushed for sport on national television. The public didn't just listen. They roared. ABC went dead silent. Their PR machine, normally slick and smug, sputtered and stumbled like a car on fire. Meanwhile, Karoline kept moving forward. Quiet, focused, unstoppable.
Think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
The cracks grew wider. Reports started trickling out. Whoopi showing up late to tapings, ignoring producers, snapping at the crew. Her usual swagger was replaced with tension so thick you could slice it with a knife. And then came the court summons. Delivered not with a whisper, but with a bang. A full legal order landing right at ABC headquarters. Whoopi's team tried desperately to spin it, claimed it was routine, but panic set in fast. Especially when Karoline's legal team filed a motion to fast-track the case, citing overwhelming public interest. The judge agreed, discovery would be accelerated, depositions scheduled, evidence demands expanding. Suddenly, the courtroom was no longer a far-off threat. It was breathing down Whoopi's neck. One panicked producer whispered that they overheard Whoopi backstage muttering, "I didn't think she'd actually go through with it." And with that one line, it was clear. Karoline hadn't just rattled them, she'd wrecked them. When the pressure exploded, Whoopi made her move. And it wasn't bold, it wasn't brave, and it wasn't smart. It was desperate. She was out, gone, vanished without even a farewell wave. ABC rushed to slap together a sad little statement about personal wellness. But no one was buying it. The timing was too obvious. Just days before depositions were scheduled, Whoopi disappeared like smoke in a hurricane. And where did she go? Well, that's where things get even messier. Whispers flew faster than wildfire across every newsroom. Rumors exploded that Whoopi wasn't just hiding out at a cozy wellness retreat. She had fled the entire country. Private jet trackers started buzzing, and soon the pieces began to fall into place. One leaked report claimed a one-way private flight had jetted off from JFK Airport, destination, Florence, Italy. Chartered by a private entity long tied to a celebrity fixer. Coincidence? Nobody believed that for a second. Some insiders whispered that Whoopi had tucked herself away in a Mediterranean villa owned by Hollywood royalty. Others claimed she had hopped over to a secluded Caribbean island where no cameras could follow. Either way, the message was the same. Whoopi wasn't vacationing, she was running, and the timing couldn't have been more suspicious. Just as depositions loomed, when she would have had to sit, under oath, answering brutal questions, Whoopi simply evaporated. Legal commentators didn't hold back. You don't vanish before a deposition unless you're terrified of what's about to be uncovered, one analyst slammed. Another legal expert joked, the only thing faster than this lawsuit was Whoopi's exit velocity. And Karoline? She said nothing. She didn't have to. Her silence thundered louder than any press conference ever could. As the hashtag number sign "Where is Whoopi" exploded online, memes flooded TikTok, X, and Instagram. One viral video showed Karoline calmly entering a courthouse, while another showed Whoopi scrambling onto a jet, with the caption, "Karoline went to court." Whoopi went to Italy. Even left-leaning media outlets that once defended The View started side-eyeing the situation.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on look?
This doesn't smell like wellness, one MSNBC host muttered, live on air. It smells like fear. ABC tried to do damage control, but it was like trying to put out a forest fire with a squirt gun. Their statement about supporting our talents' personal health journeys fell flat. Robotic, hollow, a clear sign that behind the scenes, they were scrambling harder than ever. Meanwhile, advertisers started bailing out. Major brands, terrified of getting caught in the crossfire, quietly pulled their commercials not just from The View, but from ABC's entire daytime lineup. Millions of dollars evaporated overnight. Viewership dipped like a rock tossed into a lake. And The View, once the queen of daytime controversy, was now its own biggest scandal. And Karoline? She kept showing up, kept walking into courtrooms with that same unshakable poise. No entourage, no dramatics, just her, a navy blazer, a neat ponytail, and a binder thicker than a dictionary. She wasn't chasing headlines. Headlines were chasing her. One TikTok creator summed it up in a way that made the internet scream, Karoline showed up with receipts. Whoopi showed up with a passport. Legal analysts sat stunned. Conservative news outlets praised Karoline as a cultural wrecking ball in heels. Even skeptical liberal commentators admitted Karoline wasn't playing for clout. She was playing for history. And while the public watched Karoline rise, they watched Whoopi's empire crumble, one headline at a time. ABC insiders began leaking more chaos. One anonymous crew member revealed that internal memos were full of desperation, admitting in black and white, "We are hemorrhaging trust, viewership, and credibility." Senior producers started holding emergency Zoom meetings twice a day. Backup panelists were being quietly auditioned behind closed doors. Panic oozed from every corner of the network. Meanwhile, Joy Behar was reportedly furious. Sources claim she lashed out at executives, accusing them of throwing her under the bus while the entire brand went up in flames. Sunny Hostin wasn't faring any better. Her legal background, once a badge of honor, was now a glaring liability. Headlines screamed, "How did a former federal prosecutor not see this lawsuit coming?" Ouch. Behind the scenes, the set morale was at rock bottom. Crew members whispered that people were already dusting off their resumes, fearing the inevitable. And advertisers? They were running faster than Whoopi's private jet. Huge brands backed away quietly, not wanting to be linked to the sinking ship, as one insider bluntly put it. And through it all, Karoline Leavitt stayed quiet. No bragging, no grandstanding, no "I told you so" moment. She didn't need it. The facts were screaming louder than any tweet ever could. Karoline had made her point crystal clear. This wasn't just about one conservative getting insulted on live TV. It was about the entire system of corporate media arrogance, the assumption that they could bully whoever they wanted without consequences. And now, the consequences were raining down like a storm they never saw coming. With Whoopi missing, The View falling apart, and public trust hemorrhaging at record speed, it was clear. The age of no accountability for media giants was over. And at the center of it all stood Karoline, poised, fearless, unstoppable. The world wasn't just watching her anymore. They were following her lead.
Raised a few eyebrows using the Bible to support the idea of kids getting gender change surgeries. Take a look.
This is a party that says we believe in parents' rights. You're telling me that as a parent, I'm not smart enough to decide if my child and I need to have gender affirming. Our doctors are not involved. What is going on? So I can't decide what my kid reads. I can't decide for my child what my child says is going on. You're telling me your beliefs, and they keep saying it, and I keep saying, what Bible are you reading? Because God was really clear. Very clear.
I would say this is a new low for The View, but it isn't. They've gone way lower before. It's certainly on brand for The View.
The question now wasn't whether The View could survive this. It was whether they could even limp through the next month without completely collapsing. Because one thing was certain, Karoline Leavitt had changed the game forever, and nothing would ever be the same again. As the days dragged on without a word from Whoopi, The View's reputation sank faster than anyone thought possible. Advertisers kept vanishing. Ratings continued to nosedive. The silence from Whoopi's camp only made it worse. Behind the scenes, ABC executives fought tooth and nail to keep the sinking ship afloat. Emergency meetings turned into screaming matches. Showrunners panicked as sponsors dropped out faster than they could replace them. Even longtime staffers admitted they had never seen anything like this meltdown. Meanwhile, Karoline remained a rock, calm, poised, and laser-focused. She wasn't gloating. She wasn't celebrating. She was letting the facts, the evidence, and the truth do all the talking, And the American public? They were paying attention. Even skeptics began to realize that this lawsuit wasn't some stunt. Karoline had exposed something ugly, a culture of corporate media bullying that no one wanted to admit existed. Reporters, analysts, and influencers, from the left, right, and center, all agreed on one thing. Karoline Leavitt had shattered the myth that media elites could destroy someone's reputation without consequences. As the trial drew closer, one thing became obvious. It didn't even matter whether The View survived. Their credibility was already gone. Their power had already crumbled. And Whoopi? Whether she returned or stayed hidden forever, her legacy was already rewritten. Not as a trailblazer, not as a fearless voice, but as someone who ran when the truth finally caught up. All this because a single comment from Whoopi.
If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear. Yeah. When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to you. And that's what she was doing. And she was doing it, and it's not new. No. But everybody's hip to you all now. Yeah. And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail. Yeah. I would like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here. Oh, yeah. Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job. Yeah. Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because Black people couldn't get into colleges, because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not Black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was...
When Karoline stepped out of the courthouse on the final day, she didn't wave to the cameras or boast about her victory. She simply smiled, shook her lawyer's hand, and walked away. A young woman who had taken on an empire and won without ever raising her voice. Because sometimes the loudest message isn't shouted. It's delivered in quiet, relentless strength. And in the end, Karoline Leavitt didn't just sue The View. She made history. And the world? It will never forget it.